G'day YouTube. So, you're probably like lots of the people in Australia who've got these beautiful old Australian V8s. This one's a 308. It's in a LH Torana 74 model. And the fella that owns this has done a bit of modification work to it, just improving it over its standard form. Standard, it had a huge, great big round, 16-inch round finger chopping fan. You'll never forget them once you've seen one. Unshrouded, hanging off the front of this big radiator. That was the only thing that kept this thing cool. Now, here we go. We've got it for reference sake. But anyway, what we've upgraded it to is a pair of twin thermos off an EF/EL Ford Falcon. Finger chopper. There you go. That's what she looks like. Just ready to remove your fingers. At idle. It'll do it at idle. Anyway, upgraded to twin thermos because there's no need to have the big engine fan whirling over at idle most of the time, because these V8s don't get that hot, but once you get them singing in a small engine bay, generate a lot of engine temp. This one's got open unwrapped extractors. If anyone that knows anything about holding V8s in little Toranas knows that extractors are all bunched really tight together to avoid chassis rails, steering boxes, etc. Lots of engine bay temp. This one also runs a TH400. The TH400 has a massive transcore because they work quite hard. There's a bit of energy lost in them. It creates a lot of heat. So, long and short of all this, we bought a proper Davis Craig kit to run these two fans. Temperature sensor, control box under the dash, but these two fans draw about 30 amps each-ish, and they run a really serious relay in the standard form in the Falcon, and even in the Falcon the headlights will dip. Now, if they're pulling more than 40 amps and the alternator only produces 40 amps at say 3000 RPM, being this old devil, this is a 40 amp Bosch alternator. They're on so many, like heaps of cars. The same model. Oh yeah, it was email ones, and then it was these ones. And yeah, there you go, 40 amps. 14 volt, 40 amp. So, the quick way to tell how big an alternator is in this style of format in a Bosch one, if you have a look at how skinny the lamination is in the centre here. Now we'll flip to this one. This is a 60 amp Bosch one off an XF Falcon. Now, that XF was 10 or 12 years newer than this LH. So, because it's a fair bit newer, a lot more electrical systems, things like that. You know, things like air conditioner pumps, climate control, more lights, all that kind of thing. And these little lights, they don't pull a huge amount of power, but no, they're Lucas, so these ones have still got the magic smoke in them, so they're worth 5 times more. But this little Bosch is just out of its depth nowadays. It can't keep up with the electrical load, but all we've got is thermos, some gauges, lots of time on the brake lights, because you accelerate and then you spend a lot of time on the brakes. That's about it. But 40 amps isn't enough. It's sitting here on the battery charger because after letting it idle, setting his temperature on his fans, it went flat. So we thought we'd better fix this right now before you're in traffic. You come home, turn it off, and you can't start it again. Batteries are too expensive to kill. That's a big, decent sized Sentry, just like you'd have in any Falcon. I'm pretty sure it is the Falcon model. Yep. So now we're going to give it a Falcon alternator to go with it. Any of these Bosch alternators with the single on one side, they come with a twin on the other side, but some of them have a very separated twin on the opposite side, but the one with the single will go in majority of cars the same. So, it's got this little spacing bush. This will go over the outside of the mount that the Torana one has, and straight on the front of the engine. Same style of swinging adjuster. The adjuster's up top here. No, down the bottom on this one. Told you a lie. Adjuster's down the bottom. It's only got to go between this plate. Alternator's the same physical size. Hangs down there. The belt will be the same. Just like that.
On the alternator is the same.
The pulley on the alternator is identical. Yep. Just like that, you have got an extra 20 amps. You've probably got one of these in your backyard. If you play with cars, just go and find an old Crossflow. Anything in an XF. XDs and XEs maybe a bit smaller. There might be the 45 amp version, which is still a little bit bigger, but go one of these if you can. If you've got the right mounts, an E-Series Falcon one is a possibility as well. They still had a very similar mounting system in some of the E-Series, and they got up to 110 amps. But for this application, this isn't going to use any more load than when it's actually necessary than this one, but this one has a potential to fail on you. If that's putting out full charge all the time just to run the thermofans, it'll overheat and kill itself. This one might have a bit of headway, and happy days. Do you reckon that's the original one? You never changed it?
No, what was on there.
Well, that could well potentially be, 30 years old.
All my shit's 40 years old.
So it could be old as. So, this one coming out of a 86XF, it's definitely not definitely not the original that was on the XF. It's definitely a newer Bosch one. And there's the model number for you. You see, 14 volt, 60 amp. So he's going to get this installed. Just a quick tip for people that didn't even think of it, because you can get on eBay, you can buy this style of alternator in chrome with 120 amps, but they're like $400 or $500. At a Wreckers, you'd be lucky to pay $20. They'll go, why do you want an alternator on an XF? So any of those Bosch style cars, grab the alternator, dirt cheap. If you've got one, put it away for your old Holden, because you never know when it could come in handy.
Bosch is so much better than Lucas.
Yes, we had a few Lucas ones we looked at. We didn't even entertain the idea. Go straight for the Bosch. Best quality electrics, Bosch or Denso. If it's Denso, it's Toyota, like used on Toyota. But the Bosch has a universal mounting system because a lot of the Australian cars didn't change for a long time. So go Bosch, you won't regret it. You don't have to upgrade any of the wiring. You're only going up 20 amps. If you upgraded 100 amps, you probably want to put a new main wire to your battery from your alternator. Just a tip. Thanks heaps for watching. There's some subscribe buttons over here. Catch you on the next video.